Okay. I'm trying out a new microphone. It's right here somewhere. Here it is. New microphone because I listened to the last couple of recordings I did. Um, and there's the background hissing noise, and it's sort of. Here, get rid of that clutters. Oh, look at that. It's dirty back there. Um, get rid of yeah, it was just this hissing sort of whatever, and so it was bugging me. So I thought maybe a microphone would help get rid of all that. So I want to try not to talk into the microphone like I'm on the radio and use a radio voice. But I'm going to sit back here and hopefully it picks it up, and hopefully I have it set up right so you can actually hear what I'm saying, because this will be kind of annoying if, well, maybe it would be better for you if you just watched me and not heard me. Who knows? Let me fix myself a cup of tea here before we get started. We are doing chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita today. In case you're wondering, afternoon tea is Ceylon with some dried orange peels and a slice or two of orange. Ceylon with orange. Give it a try. I didn't put anything sweet in it. Hold on. I know I could have just stopped it and got my tea and then restarted the video, but I'm way too lazy to go through and type that stuff in again. So I'm using monk fruit extract to sweeten my tea. It's in liquid form, which is really, really good. I'm going to put some in the pot too so I don't have to remember to use it. There you go. It's really strong, really good. No calories, no blood sugar issues, if that's an issue with you. And so now, let's try this again. It's a Thanksgiving dinner that can't be beat. So, let's get on the Bhagavad Gita. Enough silliness. It's Saturday. Hey, whatever. Chapter 8. And so, and get this out of the way, just to give you not a background and not a commentary, but the title of chapter 8. Originally, there were no chapter titles because the Bhagavad Gita was originally part of the Mahabharata. But when it became its own sort of separate thing, someone gave it titles. And so the old sort of Sanskrit titles that became acceptable in, in chapter 8 is Akshara Parabrahman Yog, or some version of that, because remember, I really don't do Sanskrit other than a few words here and there. But it's Akshara Parabrahman Yog, or yoga, or yogi, yoke, that yoke, that union. And the issue here, or not the issue, but one of the words I want to point out is Parabrahman, which is. Nope. Hold on, I'm trying to do two things at once. There we go. Parabrahman is like, look, Brahman is everything, right? Brahman is that sort of existence itself that that is through everything that exists. Like if anything has existence, it's because Brahman is there, because Brahman is existence itself. So everything that exists is a manifestation of Brahman, and Brahman is in everything that exists. Well, Paramat Brahman is the Brahman. Is sort of like the Brahman of the Brahman, right? It's like it's the absolute reality, the absolute existence. So it's like the Brahman, the existence of existence. So this chapter is the yoga of the sort of the imperishable absolute existence is what it is in the original. Well, not in the original, but when they started putting titles onto the chapters. And then our good friend Iswarn whose translation I like, which I still say if you're new to the Bhagavad Gita and you want a nice, accessible translation, Eastwarren's is probably the best because it's the translation. You don't have to get like a verse and commentary, which gets confusing when you're first trying to figure all this stuff. It gets confusing when you've read this a bunch of times. But he just basically keeping that idea of this is like the yoga or the union or the whatever of the imperishable absolute reality. His version of this is just simply the eternal Godhead. Okay? So chapter 8 begins with Arjuna, and he says, O Krishna, what is Brahman? And what is the nature of action? What is, oh no, Sanskrit, what is the Adhyatma, the Adhibhuta, and the Adhyadaiva? What is the Adhyajna? Adhiyajna, sorry, what is the Adhiyajna, the supreme sacrifice? And how is it to be offered? How are the self-controlled united with you at the time of death? Krishna says, my highest nature, the imperishable Brahman, gives every creature its existence and lives in every creature as the Adhyatma. My action is creation and the bringing forth of creatures. My action is creation and the bringing forth of creatures. The Adhibhuta is the perishable body. The Adidaiva is the Purusha, the eternal spirit. The Adhiyajna, the supreme sacrifice, is made to me as the Lord within you. So we have these Sanskrit words that Arjuna throws out there without any definition, and then Krishna sort of defines them. So he says Brahman is everything, and Krishna's action as sort of his highest nature as Brahman, Krishna as Brahman, his action of creation and bringing forth things is the one Sanskrit term, the Adhyatma, which has the word Atma in it, or Atman, which is that sort of self-spirit. So there's the part of creation that is sort of like the created thing that Krishna does. There is the part of creation that is the perishable body. There's the part of creation that is the eternal spirit. And there is the part of creation that is the supreme sacrifice, which is what is made to me as the Lord within you. So the Lord exists within us. All that. I don't know. Moving on. I'm ain't going to try to offer commentary because those who remember me at the time of death will come to me. This is Krishna talking. Those who remember me at the time of death will come to me. Do not doubt this. Whoever occupies the mind at the time of death determines the destination of the dying. Whatever occupies the mind at the time of death determines the destination of the dying. Always they will tend toward that state of being. Therefore remember me at all times and fight on. With your heart and mind intent on me, you will surely come to me. When you make your mind one-pointed through regular practice of meditation, you will find the supreme glory of the Lord. And again, I don't like doing a lot of commentary with this, but just to help understand this one point, whatever occupies the mind at the time of death determines the destination of the dying. If Krishna's on your mind, he's saying, then you will go to Krishna when you die. Or in the Christian sense, if Jesus is on your mind, you will go to Jesus. If hell is on your mind, you will go to hell. According to this. I'm not saying that's doctrine. I'm just saying according to this. And there's an old story that, that I've heard a few times from my yogi friends. And, one is, without all the details, I don't remember, there's this sort of yogi master. I don't know if he was a Swami or anything, but he was this, well advanced in yoga who was on the deathbed. And as he was dying, he looked out his window and saw a deer running across, and he thought that they were beautiful. And he just focused on the deer as he died. And the story goes, his next life, when he was born again, he came back as a deer. and he lived a life as a deer because that's what was on his mind. So, and that's what Krishna's saying. Whatever's on your mind at the time of death, that's where you go. That's also why the Hare Krishnas, I think, my understanding is why they chant the Hare Krishna chant all the time, because they're kind of trying to keep Krishna always in their thoughts in case they die. Krishna will be on their thoughts and they will go to Krishna. And when Gandhi was shot, his dying words was Rama, which is, Rama is another avatar of Vishnu, but he had Rama on his mind to go to Rama. So I'm going to read the last verse. Krishna says, when you make your mind one pointed through regular practice of meditation, you will find the supreme glory of the Lord. The Lord is the supreme poet, the first cause, the sovereign ruler, subtler than the tiniest particle, the support of all, inconceivable, bright as the sun, beyond darkness. Remembering him in this way at the time of death through devotion and the power of meditation, with your mind completely stilled and your concentration fixed in the center of spiritual awareness between your eyebrows, you will realize the Supreme Lord. I will tell you briefly of the eternal state all scriptures affirm, which can be entered only by those who are self controlled and free from selfish passions. Those whose lives are dedicated to Brahman attain this supreme goal. Remembering me at the time of death, close down the doors of the senses and place the mind in the heart. Then, while absorbed in the meditation, focus all energy upwards to the head, repeating in, repeating in this state the divine name, the syllable Om, that represents the changeless Brahman. You will go forth from the body and attain the supreme goal. I am easily attained by the person who always remembers me and is attached to nothing else. Such a person is a true yogi, Arjuna. Great souls make their lives perfect and discover me. They are freed from mortality and the suffering of this separate existence. Every creature in the universe is subject to rebirth, Arjuna, except the one who is united with me. Those who understand the cosmic laws that the day of Brahma ends after 1,000 yugas and the night of Brahma ends after 1,000 yugas, when the day of Brahman dawns, forms are brought forth from the unmanifest. When the night of Brahman comes, those forms merge in with the formless again. The multitude of beings is created and destroyed again and again in succeeding days, and in the succeeding days and nights of Brahma. That's Brahma, not to be confused with Brahman. Brahma is the creative God. But beyond this formless state, there is another unmanifested reality, which is eternal and is not dissolved when the cosmos is destroyed. Those who realize life's supreme goal know that I am unmanifested and unchanging. Having come home to me, they never return to separate existence. Okay, so what all that says is, because I know that sounded weird to a lot of you, because it's like, what? Those who understand the cosmic laws of the day of Brahma, those who understand the cosmic laws know that the day of Brahma ends after 1,000 yugas, and the night of Brahma ends after 1,000 yugas. So the day and the night is of the day and night of Brahma is the life of the universe. So a universe is born, and it has the day and it has the night. The day is the time of its rising, and the night is the time of its sort of passing away, and then it ends, and the universe ends. And so Brahman, who is the god of creation, is, and also Shiva and Vishnu are part of that cycle. And so, in theory, Brahman dies at the end of the universe. So he may live, you know, A thousand, and a yugas are the four periods in sort of Hindu history. You have like the first yuga, which is really long and it's good and perfect, and then you have the next yuga, which is not so perfect, and then you have the third yuga, which is the time where Krishna lives, which there's stuff going on, and it's even shorter. And then the last yuga, which is the yuga we live in, is the Kali Yuga, which is the age or the time of destruction. And so that's the shortest of all and leads to the end. And then when everything is destroyed, it goes back to the beginning. It's a circle. And so it goes back to the beginning to the first yuga of creation, and everything's good for a while. And you get 1,000 of those yugas, and then 1,000 of those yugas, and you get the universe coming and going and passing away. So in that time, those of us existing beings, we sort of come into existence. We've been in existence. Now, this is saying that that is one life for the universe, the 1,000 yugas and day and night of Brahman. That's one sort of universe, one history of the universe. Now, there have been many universes. So we've lived this and died this, and lived this and died this. And so we've lived and died, lived and died, lived and died in every age, in all the yugas, since the beginning of this universe. And if we are still caught up in this sort of wheel of samsara, this wheel of this process of birth and old age and sickness and death, then when the universe ends, we just sort of kind of are, what's the word he uses? We become unmanifest until the next universe rises, and then we are manifest again and starts the process over. And if we don't make it to the end of this infinitely long time again, we are unmanifest again. And we keep doing this universe after universe, life after life, yuga after yuga, and we've done this 1,000,000 times and could potentially do this another 1,000,000 times. Or we can find the spot where Krishna says he exists, which is outside of this whole process. So this is why, and this can make this, if you're Christian, you're not, Hare Krishna or Hindu or whatever, and you don't like Krishna saying this, you can hear Jesus say this. There's this place that's outside of that. And in this place, once you attain to that place, you don't continually go through this process of birth after birth, life after life, age after age, universe after universe, manifesting and unmanifesting, but you will be eternal in this eternal place that is outside this process. So you'd be even better than the god of creation, Brahman, because Brahman dies at the end of this, and then a new Brahman is sort of manifest. And then, so even the gods die in this sort of system. And so if you find this place where Krishna says, focus on me and be united to me and you will come to me, he means you're going to be in this place that's outside this process of birth and death and universe after universe after universe. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's the best I can explain it, at least right now. My brain is like on Saturday mode, so it's not really paying attention to a lot of things. So, yeah, feel free to put your thoughts and comments on that. The Supreme Lord who pervades all existence, this is still Krishna talking, the Supreme Lord who pervades all existence, the true self of all the tongue is on Saturday too. The Supreme Lord who pervades all existence, the true soul, let's, again, that capital S is, I'm going to read as soul so we don't get confused. The Supreme Lord who pervades all existence, the true soul of all creatures, may be realized through undivided love. There are two paths, Arjuna, which the soul may follow at the time of death. One leads to rebirth, the other to liberation. Again, liberation or freedom from this process of birth and death and rebirth. The 6 months of the northern path of the sun, the path of light, of fire, of day, of the bright fortnight leads knowers of Brahman to the supreme goal. The 6 months of the southern path of the sun, the path of smoke, of night, the dark fortnight leads other souls to the light of the moon or to rebirth. These two paths, the light and the dark, are said to be eternal, leading some to liberation and others to rebirth. Once you have known these two paths, Arjuna, you can never be deluded again. Attain this knowledge through perseverance in yoga. There is merit in studying the scriptures, in selfless service, austerity, and giving, but the practice of meditation carries you beyond all these to the supreme abode of the highest Lord. And I'm going to read that sentence again. There is merit in studying the scriptures, in selfless service, austerity, and giving, but the practice of meditation carries you beyond all these to the supreme abode of the highest Lord. And so that's for the yogi is sort of, and for other people and other traditions that sort of hold this sort of idea. Meditation isn't just like a way of relaxing, reducing stress, and lowering blood pressure and all the things we may talk about in our society that makes it trendy. And just like yoga isn't stretches and poses, but yoga is sort of like the teachings and the mental disciplines and the whatever that fosters the union with whatever this thing is, union with the self, as well as union with the divine or union with the universe. Meditation isn't just sitting and relaxing. There's actually a purpose to it, and Krishna is saying the purpose of meditation and the goal of meditation and the reality of meditation is that it helps lead the mind to this eternal place so that your mind can be fixed there, so that when this body does eventually die, as it will, the mind will go to this eternal place, or the soul, or the whatever word we want to use, will go to this eternal place and will not have to be reborn and keep going through the same process of birth and old age and sickness and death. Not to say there's not some good things that happen along the way too, but we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Just want to look in the introduction to see if there's anything. Yeah, because there's that thing about the 6 month thing, and I don't know. I really don't want to explain that because it's just, I don't see how it's helpful for us. If we're just trying to get the gist of what's going on. So I'm just going to ignore it. Forget I just even mentioned it. Okay? So basically, all this whole thing in this very short chapter was Krishna just basically describing, Arjuna begins with a question, but then Krishna takes it to, hey, look, there's this, I'm everything. And here's sort of like the way it all plays out. But look, here's this stuff. There's this universe that has a life and it dies. And we all live these many lives, age after age after age in this universe. And when the universe dies, we are manifested again in the new universe and live all these lives, age after age after age after age, until that universe dies, until we finally get to the point where we are unified with the eternal, and we are there regardless of what the universe does. And so when this body dies, we go to that eternal spot that is outside the process, and so the process continues to play out eternally, but we are now outside of that process eternally. That's basically what he's saying. And then there's some other things that sort of like give you hints on like, well, and he also talks about the process of dying too. If you really want to get to this place, which is why you got to meditate, because you got to learn how to be one pointed and whatever focused and all that stuff, which I got to tell you, I meditate, all the time, and I'm still not one focused or pointed, at least not in that sense where I just sort of have this sort of like laser focus. So if that's what he's talking about, I know I'm not there. But it's this process of, as you're dying, for the people who can, I guess, die and be aware of their dying as they're dying. And maybe people who are, because I'm with a lot of dying people, and I see a lot of, like I was with a guy the other day who was dying, and his eyes were sort of half open, and he wasn't really there, and he wasn't really responding to me, but I could see his mouth moving like he was talking, and he was definitely playing something out in his head, and he was engaged in something, even though he wasn't where we were, right? So so maybe this is a process that's going on. I mean, I don't think he's doing this process, but he's doing his own process. Um, and so if I can find this again where he says it, it's remembering at the time of death, close down the doors of the senses, which is sort of that sort of meditation. You're withdrawing from the world, withdrawing from the senses, to that place the mind in the heart, which you've listened to my other video about the yoga of Jesus. I talked about this at length, and so we're putting our minds in our hearts. That I'm not going to go off on that. And while absorbed in this meditation, focus all energy to the top of the head. The point is, you're talking about this part of the head, the crown of the head, which is where liberated souls, according to the tradition, sort of exit the body through the crown of the head. So you want to focus your attention there, while repeating the mantra Om, which is Om is the vibration of consciousness. It is the sound of the universe. It represents Brahman. It is God itself. Like, it represents God, and since it represents God, it is God. So it's sort of, you're focused on whatever. If you're theistic, you're going to say you're focused on the divine, you're focused on God. Om is sort of that. You know, it's like saying logos or word if you're Christian, right? It's just focus on word, word, word. The Jesus is the word or whatever. So it's, he's saying do that. That's sort of the process. But that's, I know that sounds sort of out like alchemy, physical alchemy. But he's saying that's the process. But the point is, we're trying to get to this, according to Krishna, this place that's outside the universe. So as the universe keeps going, as time keeps going, we're not involved in that anymore. And that's what liberation is, not having to be born again. I mean, some people, I guess, think reincarnation is cool because, hey, I get another go, it's a gas. But the people who accept reincarnation as this sort of, and some people, I guess, because they also think of karma as like, I do these good things and I get a better life. And so it's like somehow you keep graduating. But that's sort of not the point. The point is to have no karma, not to have good karma or bad karma, but to have no karma, in the sense of the way we use the word. Karma just simply means action, and results, right? So it's to sort of negate the karma, so we don't have the positive and the negative sort of come against us, to sort of to fill in these things, these habit patterns that are called samskars, which go along with karma. And it's not to get a better life next time, but to get out of the whole process altogether. So it's not to get good karma and have good things happen, and it's not to get a better life next time around, but it's to get out of the process of being reborn. And so it's this being free. That's why Krishna is talking about in the other chapters of doing things without being attached to the goal. Because if we do good things for a good reward, yeah, we may get the karma, like good karma, and we may get good things coming back to us, but we're still trapped in the process by doing that, right? And so we may get a better birth next time. Hey, we may even be in God next time, you know, according to this tradition. But the gods are caught up in all this stuff that ultimately pulls them back. They burn up that karma, they're pulled back to existence again and again and again. And so the goal that he says is to get out of that. We want to get out of existence and live in this place that's beyond existence. All right, I went on too much about whatever. I don't know if any of that made any sense. It's okay if it didn't. Not everything has to make sense, you know. Some things can just sort of be, and it's okay. So, you know, peace out. See you next time.